First, I'll apologize for the shitty video quality. I'm actually just testing out recording myself on my laptop. So we'll sort through that. I kind of wished I had started doing these videos when I first started traveling because it would have been a nice way to kind of document the trip. Um, but I didn't, so here we are. So I'm in Switzerland, in Zurich, and I've been here for this is the second week, I think. 12th day, something like that. So a little over a week and a half. Um, I think I guess there were some expectations, I suppose, that I had before I came here. And short version, those expectations haven't been met. And maybe that's an unfair comparison because I've compared it to some other trips that I've really enjoyed. And this one definitely doesn't, it probably ranks amongst the lowest. But I'll start with the pros. The pros of where I'm at, it's about a 2 minute walk to get on the train. So that's a huge plus, especially when it'll come time when I've got to catch my flight. I won't have to carry my luggage quite as far. Although I do need to carry it down about 10 flights of stairs. So that part sucks, but it's not the end of the world. Public transit here is super easy. Um, the only time it becomes challenging is when I'm on like a long distance train and I'm not sure how many stops. Using the app, it tells you how many stops, but sometimes they'll announce like a train's going to change or the platform it's on has changed. And if you don't speak German, because often they don't translate it while you're in the station, you kind of don't have a clue that your train platform has changed. But that hasn't happened. No, it has happened. It's happened a couple times. I just happened to go look at the departure screen to figure out what happened and where I got changed because I kind of understood enough German to figure out that it wasn't going to be on the platform I was at. That short version. Um, the museums, which is what I enjoy, and art exhibits have been really underwhelming. Actually, pretty shitty. There was one that I was in for less than 2 minutes. It had two exhibits. Um, it, Modern art, if you'll call it, or minimalist art, is probably my least favorite. It takes what appears to be the least amount of effort to create. I'm talking like you take a giant canvas and paint it one color, and that's passed off as art. I know a 9-year-old child that can do that, so maybe I should start having her do that so we can sell her art to these galleries that seem to think that qualifies as art. I think my favorite was it was probably about 8 feet long, piece of chain link fence that had probably been stolen from a construction site. Wasn't painted, it wasn't bent into a shape. It was just a piece of chain link fence hanging on a wall, and that was art. Um, Frankly, that took less effort than painting a canvas one color. But that sort of minimalist art, I just don't care for. It's garbage, in my opinion. Um, but that aside, I haven't seen a lot of art that I was actually interested in. I took a lot of pictures just to kind of document my trip, but it's been it's been pretty bad. There might be a dozen or so um, pictures that were worth seeing. For the most part, it hasn't been. It's been pretty disappointing. I did go to a museum in Bern, I think it's pronounced Bern, something like that. Yesterday, that was pretty good. It was probably I spent about 4 hours in there, but what made it so good is it had an Einstein exhibit that was really fascinating. It had a lot of his original writings, some of his letters that he had typed, and some of his handwritten manuscripts, notes for lectures he gave. It was really interesting. It took it from his birth to his death, so that made it worthwhile. The only other memorable part of the museum was an Anne Frank exhibit that was really interesting because again that kind of went through her short life, but it did get into her family, and they actually have her original diary that the book was based on, which apparently is quite graphic. But from what I could gather, any version you might read is an edited, toned down version of what she actually wrote. I'd be really interested to read the original version of her diary. It would be fascinating to read. Um, in Zurich, most people speak German, um, which I've figured out a little bit along the way. But I've had problems with one particular demographic. I'll call them middle-aged women that I've frequent when I go to. There's a grocery store here, maybe 2 blocks away, 3 blocks away, and this refuse to speak English, even when they ask me something, and I clearly say I don't speak German. Now, granted, if they don't speak English at all, they don't understand what I'm saying. But in a country that teaches English as a second language, when you're going through what they call primary school, and then I don't remember what it is when you go to college. I don't remember what that's called. So I would think most people here, until you get on the outskirts of Switzerland, speak some form of English, at least enough to understand when someone doesn't speak German. Um, in Geneva, I spent a couple days there. It's all French, no translations at all, which really surprised me. But it's all French. Everyone speaks French. The only person that spoke English to me was a salesman trying to sell me something. Um, what I ended up getting was free hand care, so that was nice. Kind of used some salt rub thing and moisturize my hands and shit. Tried to sell it to me for like 200 bucks. I'm like, well, good news is I already have some. Bad news is for you, I already have some. So he's like, well, well, I throw in this, I throw in that. I said, okay, well, I'm here for 3 days. If I can find you again, uh, apologize, it get dark all of a sudden. If I could find you again, then sure, I'll look you up. I'll let you know. I couldn't have found that place again if I tried. Wouldn't have mattered. There was supposedly there was supposed to be a really good museum in Geneva, and frankly, I don't remember seeing a goddamn thing that I saw there. So it must not have been that great. Um, I've never been a person for scenery. So I didn't take like the gondola up to the Matterhorn, or yeah, it just doesn't interest me. I am interested in like architecture and industrial zones and construction. So of course that interests me. I have a couple of pictures of me taking them. I took a picture of a manhole only because it had a hinge on it, which I thought that's fucking brilliant because you don't have to worry about smashing your foot when you take it off of there. And I do know someone that smashed their foot bad. Um, so that some of the highlights, I suppose, and some of the bad parts too. I think the worst part has been the Airbnb I'm staying at. The place I'm in right now. Um, the host has been completely unresponsive until this morning. 2 days before I leave, almost exactly to the hour, 2 days before I leave. And I had sent him numerous messages early on, like, hey, you don't have a lot of the things that you listed as amenities here. So, I don't know, things like it said it has HD TV. There's not even a TV here. So, not that I was going to watch it, but I would have plugged my laptop into the TV so I didn't have to watch something on a 16-inch screen, but I didn't watch much anyways. Didn't matter. Not the point though. Two irons, but no ironing board. So I use this table, which I won't try to show you because it'll probably go dark again. I use the table as an ironing board, and the dining table this is sitting on. I use that as an ironing board. Um, he's got like a bunch of water damage wood floor in here, and the first night I was here, I cut my fucking foot. So ever since, I'm walking around with either socks or with my shoes on, which for anybody that knows me knows I can't stand doing that shit. But I don't like walking around barefoot either. So what am I gonna do? Um, Shit. What else? No toaster, so I've been making toast in a frying pan, which takes about as long as it sounds like. Especially because this is like an electronic range that doesn't actually heat up. I think it took me 25 minutes to boil a pot of water to make spaghetti. So, not a lot of good things about this place other than being close to the train station. The place I stayed at in Geneva was, pretty nice, all things considered. Unfortunately, some asshole had dropped and cracked the TV, which sucked. So I let the owner know, hey, by the way, someone cracked your TV, man. it's shitty, but it wasn't huge. But still, if someone cracked your shit, someone posted in my review like, "Hey, whoever the asshole is that broke the TV, own it, own up to it, become an adult, and pay to replace it." But nobody's gonna give a shit. Who knows who broke it? I don't know. Um, Other than that experience in Geneva, it was the place was close enough. One thing that pissed me off was the guy asked me, "Be really quiet because I'm friends with the neighbors." First time there at 10 o'clock, they're out there in the hallway, just hollering at each other and banging on something. I don't know what the fuck they were working on. I think they were probably working on the front door, if I had to guess. Um, so of course I'm being quiet as a mouse. I've got headphones in when I'm listening to something. Even though I'm listening to a book on tape, I've got my headphones on. So that part was kind of shitty. Um, but they weren't there. They weren't much longer than that for maybe 10:30, something like that. Didn't much matter. I wasn't going anywhere special. I went to a shitty museum the next day, so didn't really matter. Got one last museum I'm going to go to tomorrow. It's supposed to be this Olympics museum with like the history of the Olympics. I'm holding out hope that it's worth paying 21.60 for. I guess the other good part is that I got a partial refund for this Airbnb, so can't complain about that. Um, Other than that, not a lot. Unfortunately, this trip has been, like I say, probably amongst the worst that I've taken. Uh, and unfortunately, because of that, I haven't really gotten much enjoyment out of it. Don't really feel like I had a vacation. I felt like I was having to make shit up to stay busy, and so I'm ready to go home. I don't feel rested at all, but I'm ready to go home just the same. So I'll try to post this very poor quality video on YouTube on my channel for anyone interested in watching or listening to it. And maybe I'll make more of these in the future because it's an easier way to document my travels versus 2,000 pictures.